Stop everything. Forget dating apps, pick-up lines, and shallow advice. What you're about to hear will dismantle everything you believe about finding love. This isn't about finding someone. It's about becoming someone. And there is a final test, one single barrier that stands between you and the love you say you deserve. Most people run from it their entire lives. Will you face it? I see you. Yes, you who have read all the books, tried all the therapies, but still feel that pit in your stomach when you return to an empty home. You who project a confidence you don't feel, who smile in pictures but carry a silent restlessness. The pain isn't the loneliness itself, it's the suspicion that the problem might be you. And the controversial idea I'm throwing at you now is, you are right. The problem is you, but not in the way you think. The strong belief you need to adopt today is counterintuitive. You are attracting exactly the type of relationship that confirms the wounds you refuse to heal. Every wrong person, every repeated disappointment isn't bad luck. It's an echo of that part of yourself that you locked in the dark and hope no one discovers, your shadow. But the quick reward is this. The moment you understand this mechanism, the game changes. The solution isn't out there, it's in your deepest interior. And it's called wholeness. The love of your life is not a prize for suffering. It's a natural consequence, a synchronicity that happens when you finally pass the last test, the test of becoming a whole person. This video is the map for that journey. We will unravel one by one the 10 stages of this inner alchemical transformation. From facing the shadow you avoid, through the inner marriage, to the final letting go that signals to the universe you are ready. Are you prepared for this final test? So have you ever wondered why certain patterns repeat in your relationships? That same argument, the same disappointment, the feeling of always choosing the same type of wrong person. That's not coincidence, it's a sign. It's your shadow knocking on the door of your love life, demanding to be seen. Jung was right. What we hide in the basement of the mind doesn't disappear. It grows, gets stronger, and starts dictating the rules of the love game. While you pretend it's not there, you're handing it the remote control to your attraction. Think of the shadow as that messy roommate you lock in the junk room. The more you ignore him, the more trash he accumulates, until the door bursts open and the mess floods the entire living room. In love, this mess is your unresolved insecurities, that little anger held onto from the past, the neediness you disguise with independence. You attract fragments of love, affectional crumbs, because deep down you think that's all you deserve for harboring so much hidden mess. Here's a practical and painfully common example. A person who is afraid of being betrayed, a shadow wound, may unconsciously be attracted to distant and evasive partners. It's as if they were saying, I'm going to prove I can conquer someone who isn't available to heal my fear. Only the result is the opposite. The projection of your pain attracts precisely the situation that will poke at it. It's a perfect cycle of self-sabotage. The transformation begins when you see the game. So, how do you face this monster? The first action is observation without judgment. The next time a strong emotion, jealousy, possessiveness, rejection, arises in a relationship, stop, breathe. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? What old memory is this touching? It's not about blaming the other, it's about investigating the wound in you that was activated. This act of courage is the beginning of wholeness, and when you do this, something magical happens. The shadow, when illuminated, loses its power. It stops being a scary monster and reveals itself as a wounded part that needs care. This integration is the self at work. When you stop running, you take back the reins. And it's only with this recovered inner strength that you stop attracting drama and start emitting a different frequency. But beware, this is not the only mask we wear. There is another, even more socially acceptable one, that can be the biggest barrier to true love. Now imagine that inside you there is a dance. On one side, your masculine energy dances, focus, action, reason, protection. On the other, your feminine energy, intuition, receptivity, emotion, creation. The problem is that, for most of us, this dance is a mess. One side dominates, the other shrinks in the corner, and the dance gets stuck. Have you ever found yourself being overly rational in a relationship, analyzing every detail until you killed the magic? Or on the contrary, totally emotional, diving in headfirst without seeing obvious signs? That's the internal imbalance screaming. Carl Jung called this process the alchemical marriage. It's not a poetic metaphor for nothing. Alchemy sought to turn lead into gold, and that's exactly what happens. When you unite these opposing forces within yourself, an alchemical transformation occurs. The lead of your neediness, of your desperate search for a half, is transmuted into the gold of wholeness. You stop being a half orange, looking for another half, and become a whole fruit, complete and juicy on its own. Let's look at a practical example of this in real life. A man who completely represses his anima, the inner feminine energy, may become rigid, only focused on achievements, and incapable of emotional connection. He will attract women who project this missing emotion, but the relationship becomes a tug-of-war. The cure? He needs to make space for his sensitive part. It can be through art, music, or simply stopping to feel without judgment. It's an act of synchronicity with himself. And for the woman who suffocates her animus, the inner masculine energy, it may manifest as difficulty in setting boundaries, saying no, or following her own direction in life. She attracts dominant partners because she projects her own dormant inner strength onto them. The exercise here is to practice assertive action. It can start small, defending an opinion, making a unilateral choice about something she likes, managing her own finances. It's about reclaiming the throne of your own life. When this internal marriage consolidates, the search ceases, the desperate energy vanishes, and then you emit a completely new frequency. You are no longer needing, you are sharing. And it's this aura of a whole person that attracts another whole being. But to get to this inner altar, you'll need to hold a funeral. The funeral of the persona, of the social mask you wear to be loved. And that, believe me, is the hardest test of all. Here's the big trap. The test almost everyone fails, believing the mask will lead you to true love. You dress up, speak properly, hide your controversial opinions, amplify your cultured tastes, suppress anger, disguise fear. We create an offline profile, an impeccable persona for the world, and think, who is falling in love with you? It's not you, it's the disguise. It's like an actor who, at the end of the play, is left alone in the dressing room because the fans loved the character, not the person. Jung was categorical. The persona is what we are not. This mask isn't just inauthentic, it's exhausting. It drains your vital energy, the same energy that should be fueling your quest for wholeness. Every time you hold back a spontaneous joke for fear of seeming silly or force an interest you don't feel to fit in, you are pushing real love one step away. Because true love is a recognition of soul. And how can one soul recognize another if you're wearing a costume? Let me give you a concrete and applicable example. Imagine a person who, on their dates, always agrees with everything, never shows discontent, and only does activities of the perfect couple. They are presenting the persona of the perfect partner. Result? They will attract someone who loves the idea of a perfect relationship and not them, with their idiosyncrasies. When the mask falls, and it always falls, the partner will feel deceived. The practice here is the calculated risk of authenticity. On your next date, express a genuine preference, even if trivial. Say, actually, I don't really like this restaurant. I prefer that simple sandwich. Observe what happens. Abandoning the persona is an act of courage that generates a powerful synchronicity with yourself. It's you saying to the universe, "Here I am, with my imperfections and my truth." This act of spiritual nudity is frightening because you become vulnerable, but it's in vulnerability that real connection is born. The mask attracts admiration, the truth attracts connection, and it's only from this genuine connection that the self can shine and attract what is compatible. When you stop performing, a silent and powerful space opens up inside you. It's in this space that intuition begins to whisper, and these whispers, my dear, are your compass. They don't speak through the mouth of the persona, they speak through the voice of your soul. And this voice has a direct communication channel, especially when you sleep. It manifests in symbols, warnings, and preparations in your dreams. But how many of us still insist on ignoring this nightly counsel? Now, pay attention to this. When you stop desperately seeking and start living from your integrated self, the universe changes gears. Encounters stop being the fruit of a tiring search on the app of life and become events laden with meaning. You're in the right place at the exact time, and that person simply appears, as if an invisible script had been followed. Jung called this synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence. It's not luck, it's the natural consequence of your internal alignment. It's the external world mirroring the order you created within. Think of it as a magnet. When you are fragmented, your magnetic energy is weak and disordered, attracting only iron filings, insignificant things. But when you perform the inner marriage and abandon the persona, you become a powerful magnet with a clear and defined field. And then, only what resonates with this new frequency can be attracted. The synchronicitous encounter is not forced. It's as natural as a flower blooming. You don't drag anyone into your life. You allow whoever already vibrates at the same frequency to meet you on the path. A practical example of this? Let's say that, after working on your shadow and your authenticity, you discover a deep love for painting. You start attending courses, exhibitions, not to meet someone, but for pure pleasure. There, in one of these places, you bump into someone with a familiar light. The conversation flows naturally because there is already common, authentic ground. The environment, the shared interest, the moment, everything aligns. That is synchronicity. The action came from you following your truth, not from a goal of meeting someone. Therefore, the application here is paradoxical. Stop hunting for love. Start cultivating your life. Invest in activities that make yourself vibrate, that bring you wholeness. Join groups that reflect your genuine interests, even if they are solitary. Travel alone to where your heart tells you. When you do this, you are sending a clear signal to the universe, and synchronicity acts as a cosmic force of attraction, organizing events for the encounter. You don't control the when or how, but you can prepare the ground. And this ground, it's crucial to understand, is not made only of light and joy. The most fertile part for this new growth is precisely the soil plowed by pain. The synchronicity of the true encounter rarely happens in an untilled field. It blossoms in the ground that has been turned over, fertilized, and healed. Because it is pain that, when integrated, gives us the necessary depth to recognize and sustain love when it arrives. And this leads us to the next, and perhaps most difficult, stage of preparation. Here's a truth that hurts to accept. Your untreated pain is the biggest magnet for the wrong relationships. Each old wound, the childhood abandonment, the betrayal you swept under the rug, the criticism you internalized, is like a lighthouse blinking in the dark. Only instead of guiding safe ships, it attracts storms. As long as you don't make peace with these pains, you will unconsciously attract people and situations that repeat the same pattern in a desperate and failed attempt to rewrite the ending. It's the shadow running the show. Think of your deepest pain as a wounded child inside you. If you ignore it, it will cry, throw tantrums, and get attention any way it can. In relationships, this call translates into excessive jealousy, need for control, anxious attachment, or pathological fear of commitment. You project onto the partner the responsibility to calm this child, a job you yourself didn't even want to do. The transformation begins when you, the adult, turn to this inner child and ask, "What do you need?" Let's look at a powerful, practical example. If your original pain is abandonment, you may notice you cling to clearly bad relationships, afraid of being alone. The application is to consciously create experiences of safe abandonment. Be alone on purpose. Spend an entire weekend without social contact, just with yourself. At first, panic may arise. That's the wounded child screaming. Breathe, calm it. Show it that you, the adult, will not abandon it. This is a profound exercise in wholeness and self-healing. Each time you do this work, you deactivate a magnet of pain. Gradually, you stop asking for love in a desperate way, which is just a request for healing, and start emanating love, which is an overflow. The difference is abysmal. Love that comes from emptiness is clingy and demanding. Love that comes from fullness is light and generous. And it's this second type that attracts the partner capable of a healthy bond. But how do you know if you are really healing and not just shoving the pain aside? How to access this deeper wisdom? There is a direct channel to the truth of your soul, which speaks while the conscious world is silent. It manifests at night in symbols and narratives we often ignore. This channel is the language of your dreams, and deciphering it is crucial to passing the final test. And what if I told you that every night you receive a personalized letter from your own soul with instructions for your love life, and you simply throw it away? Because that's exactly what happens when you ignore your dreams. Jung saw dreams as the royal road to the unconscious, a necessary compensation for what your consciousness ignores. While you are awake performing the persona, at night the self tries to restore balance, showing what needs to be integrated for true love to find its way. Dreams don't speak the language of logic, they speak the language of symbols. A recurring dream of being chased may not be about a murderer, but about an emotion or a truth you are running from facing. A dream about a house with unknown rooms is talking about parts of your own psyche you haven't explored yet. In the context of love, always dreaming about an ex is not about them. It's about a quality or a wound they represent that is still active in you. It's the shadow and the animus communicating. How to apply this? Start simple. Put a notebook and a pen on your bedside table. Upon waking, before checking your phone, be still for a minute. Capture any fragment, sensation, or image left from the dream. Don't try to interpret it right away, just write it down. Over time, patterns will emerge. Do you notice you dream of drowning when you feel overwhelmed at work? This may indicate that stress is suffocating your ability to be receptive to love. The synchronicity between the dream world and the real one is your greatest guide. Let's take a concrete example. A woman who in real life claimed to be totally independent and in no need of a partner began to repeatedly dream that she was caring for a forgotten baby. Gradually, she understood that the baby was her own vulnerability and need for care, which her persona of the tough one was denying. By welcoming this message from the dream and allowing herself to be softer and more receptive, she not only felt more wholeness, but the type of man she attracted changed, from competitors to caring partners. Ignoring dreams is ignoring the treasure map that leads to inner transformation. They reveal where you are betraying yourself, what spiritual contracts you need to break, and what aspects to integrate. When you start dialoguing with this material, you are doing the greatest demonstration of self-love. You are listening to your soul, and a soul that is heard and respected stops emitting signals of desperation. It calms down, and in this state of inner peace, you stop emanating neediness and begin emanating a magnetic presence. But be careful. Because there is a cheap imitation of this state, which is just another mask. Pay close attention here, because this is one of the most dangerous disguises on the path. You might even think you've already abandoned the persona, that you're already being authentic. But what if this authenticity is just another layer of performance? That's the false self, a sophisticated construct we create to meet the expectations of the spiritual, personal development world. You force yourself to be positive all the time, to forgive quickly, to vibrate high, to deny negative emotions like anger or sadness. And guess what? That's another mask, and every mask, no matter how luminous it seems, generates hunger for true love. It's a cruel trap. The more you feed this spiritualized false self, the more it demands. You post pretty quotes, meditate out of obligation, talk about gratitude while inside you boil with unexpressed indignation. This dissociation creates a deep hunger, a void that screams for real recognition. And this hunger, this desperate energy, is like a strong smell for emotional predators. You attract people who feed on healers, or partners who see your light as something to be consumed, not shared. It's the shadow disguised as light. Stop and reflect. How many times have you repressed a genuine feeling of resentment because evolved people don't hold grudges? Or forced a connection you didn't feel because you need to vibrate in love? That's violence against your real self. A practical example, you end a relationship and to seem evolved, force instant forgiveness and a fake friendship with your ex, while inside you are hurt. The right action would be to honor the pain, the justified anger, the grief. Only then is healing real, and you stop attracting situations that repeat this dynamic of self-negation. The application is radical. Allow yourself to be human. If you are angry, scream into a pillow. Write an unsent letter. If you are sad, cry without calling yourself weak. The true self embraces the wholeness of human experiences, not just those that are socially or spiritually accepted. When you do this, the hunger diminishes. You are satiated with your own truth. And magically, the desperation vanishes. You stop emitting the signal of, I need someone to complete me, and start emitting the signal of, I am complete and open to sharing. This is the last step before the great leap. When the false self falls, no performance is left. Only you remain naked and whole, and it is in this state of wholeness, of non-neediness, that the miracle happens. You become a beacon not because you are pretending to be light, but because you have integrated the darkness as well. And a beacon like this doesn't attract dazzled moths. It attracts other beacons. But what exactly happens when two beacons meet? What is this attraction between beings who are already wholes? Here is the final secret, the one that reconfigures everything you've understood about love until now. Mature love is not a glue that sticks two broken halves together. It's a celebration between two already complete wholes. As long as you sell yourself to the world and to yourself as a half, you can only attract other halves. And what do two halves do? They fight to see who completes whom. They create dependency, and they live in constant fear of loss, because if the other leaves, part of you disappears. It's a union based on emptiness, not on fullness. Jung summed it up masterfully. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Imagine two complete circles, each vibrant and whole on its own. When they meet, they don't merge into a blur. They touch, creating an area of intersection, a sacred space of sharing. That is the relationship between two wholes. Each maintains its own center, purpose, individual light, and together they create something greater. Now imagine two half circles. They need to glue themselves together to form a complete figure, and any movement can unglue them. Which union seems more stable, more free, and more powerful? The answer is obvious. How do you operate from this wholeness in practice? Stop looking for a complement and start looking for a companion. change the questions you ask yourself. Instead of, will he/she complete my life, ask, is my life already complete and interesting enough that I would want to share it with someone? Your actions change. You don't cancel your personal plans, your projects, your alone time to merge with the other. You invite the other into your already rich reality and take an interest in their rich reality. A concrete and transformative example. Instead of creating a relationship profile saying, looking for someone to travel with me and make me happy, your internal stance is, I travel, explore, and am happy. I would love to meet someone who also has their own passion for discovering the world, so we can share these experiences. You attract from a place of abundance, not lack. This is synchronicity in maximum action, attracting resonant peers, not opposites who complete each other out of need. And when that happens, the last test is passed. The love of your life doesn't arrive as a savior who solves your problems, but as a glorious mirror that reflects back all the transformation you have achieved. It arrives, and you don't think, finally, now I am complete. You think how incredible our completeness have met. That is the end of the search and the beginning of a brand new adventure. But this journey to wholeness has a map, and it's not in the external world. It is inscribed in your own psyche, waiting to be deciphered. And to read it, you need to learn the language of symbols and archetypes that speak through your dreams and your simplest synchronicities. Within you lives the internal image of the other, not a physical image, but a powerful psychic force, the anima in man, the inner woman, and the animus in woman, the inner man. Jung taught that these archetypes are responsible for instant passion, for that blind fascination we feel for a complete stranger. When you see in the real world someone who resembles this internal image, it's like a spell. You project onto that person all the beauty, mystery, and completeness that actually belong to a part of yourself you don't yet know. And passion is not love. It's a call to integration. Think of it as having a treasure buried in your backyard, but spending your whole life admiring and chasing pirate chests on distant islands. You get tired, get hurt, get disillusioned, while what you're really looking for is right there, under your feet. The person you fall madly in love with is often the one who best carries the projection of your anima or animus. The problem is that no one can carry that weight. The relationship starts in the clouds, but inevitably plummets when the real person, with their human flaws, appears and the projection dissolves. How to integrate this archetype and stop projecting blindly? The man needs to know and value his anima, his sensitivity, his creativity, his ability to relate without just doing. It can be through art, music, tending a garden, the simple act of listening deeply to a person without wanting to solve the problem. The woman needs to embrace her animus, her assertiveness, her ability to set boundaries, to pursue her own objective. It can be by taking on a challenging project, defending an idea in public, learning a technical skill. It's a quest for inner wholeness. A practical and revealing example, a man who was always attracted to extremely artistic and emotional women, but was always frustrated by what he called drama. He was projecting his own unlived artistic and emotional anima. Upon starting to write a journal and play a musical instrument, he began to integrate this energy. Gradually, the attraction to a certain type of external drama decreased. He was no longer seeking in others what he was cultivating in himself. When you do this work, something magical happens. The projection loses its strength. You stop seeing potential partners as saviors or bearers of something you lack. You begin to see them as they are, complete and complex people. And it's only from this place of lucidity that a real choice can be made. Not a choice driven by the spell of an archetype, but by the recognition of two wholes that respect each other. And this recognition often doesn't come with a bang. It comes as a whisper in a perfect and unexpected synchronicity. Now, the last and most counterintuitive lesson: for the new to arrive, the old must leave. And I'm not just talking about ex-boyfriends. I'm talking about the heaviest anchor there is, the old you. That you who believes you need to suffer to be loved, who needs to be strong all the time, who needs to shrink to fit. That you is a familiar identity, comfortable like an old worn-out sofa. But it anchors your boat in the safe harbor of known loneliness. And true love is oceanic, vast and unpredictable. It doesn't fit in the small pond of your comfort zone. You need to have the courage to cut the rope and set sail alone into the open sea. Think of this anchor as a heavy cocoon. While you're inside, it's warm, dark, and protected. You even dream of flying, but the cocoon is your definition, your story. That's just how I am. The love you say you want is the butterfly's flight. It's impossible to have both. This transformation requires the cocoon to break. This breaking is the letting go. It's releasing the story that you are unworthy, the fear of abandonment, the belief that love is scarce. It's a mourning. You grieve for the self you are leaving behind to give birth to the new one. How to do this in practice? Identify a core limiting belief about love that you carry. For example, women only want to take advantage. Now, consciously for a week, act as if the opposite belief were true. People are capable of genuine love. Observe the world with these new eyes. You're not being naive. You're expanding your field of possibility. Another powerful action: do a symbolic physical cleanse. Donate clothes from a past relationship. Change the arrangement of the furniture in your bedroom. Create physical space to signal to your unconscious that there is space for the new. This letting go is not an act of loss, but of faith. Faith in the dark self, in the process, in synchronicity. When you release control and trust that the ocean will take you where you need to be, you stop swimming against the current. And it's in this state of active surrender, not passive, that the magic happens. Life cannot bring the new to a container that is still full of the old. Letting go is emptying the cup. It's making yourself available to destiny. And when you finally lift this anchor, something fundamental changes in you. You stop searching. You start navigating. And it's in the middle of this ocean, guided by the internal compass of your wholeness, that you spot another sailboat in the distance. It's not a needy ship that requires your tow. It's another sailor, whole and free, who recognizes in you the same light of the explorer. And then the meeting is no longer about filling a void, it's about celebrating the vastness. But this entire journey, from the safe harbor to the open ocean, begins with a single courageous step, looking at the parts of yourself you locked in the basement. So that's it. The journey isn't about finding your perfect match out there. It's about forging wholeness in here. Every step we took today, from confronting the shadow to letting go of the anchor, wasn't theory. It was a war manual for the most important battle, the battle for yourself. Now I ask you, and I want you to answer with brutal honesty in your heart, what is your next test? Which of these 10 topics poked the wound, made you recognize yourself? Is it the persona you don't have the courage to drop? Is it the old pain you still feed like a treasure? Or is it the fear of letting go of control and trusting in synchronicity? Identify that one thing, and tomorrow, upon waking, make a move, a single move, in the opposite direction. Break the pattern. This doesn't end with this video. In fact, it only begins now. Transformation demands action, and life will test you. It will put in front of you exactly the kind of person that drives you crazy, exactly the situation that activates your old wound, to see if you applied what you learned or if you'll fall into the same loop. Will you recognize the test when it appears? The path of the self is solitary, but it's not meant to be walked alone. If this content touched something real in you, if it made sense on a deep level, then this is your cue. Subscribe to the Mind's Silent Echo channel and hit the bell, because here we won't give you magic formulas on how to conquer someone. We'll give you the tools for you to conquer yourself first. And when you conquer yourself, the universe conspires. The love of your life is not a goal to be achieved. It's a consequence to be allowed. The final question is, are you finally ready to allow it?